It's Wednesday, September 18. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. The Parliament on Tuesday voted to extend the states of emergency in St. Catherine and Clarendon by 3 weeks. Prime Minister Andrew Holness moved a motion in Parliament for a 3-month extension of the measure, which was declared on September 5. This led to a grueling debate by parliamentarians that saw the sitting continuing into the night.
If it works and the SOE is working, let us support it. We have seen, Mr. Speaker, that under the SOE, the constitutional rights of people have been suspended. And no one supports the constitutional rights of the people and will campaign for them more than me. But there's no more important constitutional right, Mr. Speaker, than the right to life.
I don't know what the SOE costs every month. I don't know what the figure is. But I'm sure if you put that figure to fund the SDC and the CMI, the PMI and other programs and put boots on the ground, put counselors on the ground for families, for mothers who are just frustrated. And I'm sure you'll find a way. So my simple intervention, Prime Minister, is go back in the budget. Look at really what you're funding your social intervention programs with. Give Desmond some more money. Give Babsy some more money. Sorry. And let us be able to give their ministries the money.
At times, the debate became raucous.
A few years ago, the Prime Minister, when then leader of the opposition, said, if you want not to die, don't vote for the PNP. Right? Sleep with it, you will be able to sleep with the doors and the windows open. Don't vote for the PNP if you want the chances of living. You know the exact words that you use, Prime Minister, right?
I'm not understanding what the member is saying, Mr. Speaker, because is the member saying? I'm trying to understand what the member is saying. Is the member saying that as leader of the opposition, as I was then, that I expressed a view that every single Jamaican citizen is entitled to his life, to sleep with his windows and doors open? That having expressed that, and having had the confidence of the people, that it so irks them that now they will do anything possible to undermine the achievement of the goal of ensuring that every single Jamaican is entitled to their life. Is that what you're saying, member?
Opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips said in the absence of critical information from the government about the conduct of the SOEs, he is only prepared to extend the latest security measure by 3 weeks.
What I am proposing, Mr. Speaker, is that we on this side will move an amendment to extend this by 21 days, during which time we are expecting the regulations to be changed, and we are expecting also that the relevant data will be brought to the Parliament as a basis for us to consider further extension.
In the end, the Prime Minister agreed to this compromise and withdrew his original motion and resubmitted a motion for a 3-week extension, which was then put to a vote. The parliamentarians voted in favor of the measure, giving the government a 2/3 majority needed to extend the SOEs. Energy Minister Favour Williams says there is no timeline for the Energy Ministry's takeover of the operations of the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica, the PCJ. Questioned about the matter during Tuesday afternoon's sitting of the House of Representatives, Minister Williams said the government is in the process of engaging the Public Sector Transformation Implementation Unit.
In terms of a timeline, again, we are in the process of engaging the Public Sector Transformation Implementation Unit. They are the group that has the template for how this is done and the timeline. We will not deviate 1
iota from what they've laid out and the principles and how they do the integration of public bodies into parent ministries. So that process is very transparent, and they will be engaging with staff at PCJ, with staff at the ministry to effect that procedure at this moment. I do not have a specific timeline to give you.
Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark also provided further explanation of the rationale behind the government's decision to close the PCJ. He argued that the PCJ was initially set up to be a conglomerate managing several entities, but has now been reduced to a skeletal range of activities.
In the prior dispensation, PCJ was a large conglomerate that had a number of commercial activities. It had Petrojam, it had Wigton, it had Petcom, it had Petrojam Ethanol, and other operating commercial subsidiaries. The situation has changed. PCJ no longer has Wigton. PCJ no longer has Petcom. PCJ, with the reforms that the minister has implemented, will no longer have Petrojam Ethanol. It will essentially be a holding company for Petrojam. And the resources of government, it is no longer justified for a PCJ with the residual functions that it has, which includes the energy efficiency program the minister spoke about, and engaging in contracts for oil exploration. The PCJ does not do oil exploration itself, it engages third parties. So to have a public body set up, a public body that was set up originally to be a conglomerate engaged in multiple commercial activities that today, due to circumstances, has been reduced to a skeletal range of activities that are not, that we have to have the courage, to arrange our affairs that is consistent with the time.
But opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips took issue with the lack of information, starting with how much would be saved.
We have taken the decision without any idea as to how we are going to attract staff with this specialist expertise in the energy sector to advise governments. And we are doing it for reasons that are not clear. Could I ask the minister, when was the decision taken? Was it a consequence of the obvious lack of oversight in Petrojam that occurred, or was it taken on the basis of some careful analysis about how much we would save and how we would manage our energy market?
Meanwhile, the energy minister was unable to say how much savings would be realized by the rationalization of the PCJ, noting that the government was at the beginning process. Labour and Social Security Minister Shahini Robinson is scheduled to officially launch Senior Citizens Week at the Knutsford Court Hotel in Kingston on Friday. The week-long celebrations will be observed from Sunday, September 22 through to Tuesday, October 1, 2019. As the National Council for Senior Citizens celebrates 40 years of service to the nation, they will launch Senior Citizens Week under the theme Older Persons Partner in Social, Cultural and Economic Development. The Media Association of Jamaica, MAJ, is concerned about the Parliament retaining an aspect of the Criminal Justice and Administration Act which prohibits the taking of photographs of defendants entering and leaving the court or from producing a sketch of the accused. Criminal Justice and Administration Act is being updated. In a statement Tuesday, the MAJ said the clause in question goes against modern media practice in other jurisdictions, where still and video recordings are allowed prior, during, and after court. The MAJ said it sees this as a retrograde step, which flies in the face of media freedoms and other tools which can be used to suppress the work of journalists who can be fined $1 million and be prosecuted. The MAJ has called for the government and the opposition to abolish what it describes as an archaic provision of the law, which will affect citizens and further threaten Jamaica's ranking of press freedom. In other news, the Jamaica Constabulary Force's Corporate Communications Unit says that members of the Community Safety and Security Branch and the police's chaplaincy unit have been deployed to commence counseling sessions for family members of the 22 people that were impacted in a crash which claimed 2 lives on the Flankers Main Road in St. James on Monday, September 16. More than a dozen students are injured after the fatal crash. 2 drivers reportedly died as a result of injuries they sustained during the crash. Reports are that about 4 p.m. a Toyota Corolla motorcar was traveling along the road towards Montego Bay when, upon reaching a section, the driver reportedly lost control of the vehicle and ran across the median to the other side and slammed into a Nissan Caravan, which was transporting approximately 15 students. The US dollar on Tuesday, September 17, ended trading at Jamaican $136.69, down by 43 cents. That's according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily foreign exchange trading summary. Meanwhile, the Canadian dollar ended trading at Jamaican $103.83, down from $103.94, while the British pound sterling ended trading at $170.49, up from $168.79.
When I call on Jesus, all things are possible. You can mount the wings like eagles and soar.
Songwriter, producer and composer Paul Barclay and the Jamaica Gospel Music Network are working to help resolve the humanitarian crisis facing the displaced natives of the Bahamas, ravaged by Hurricane Dorian. Last weekend, they held a Bahamian hurricane relief concert at Fellowship Tabernacle on the Boulevard. Mr. Barclay shared the reasoning behind convening the event.
I saw a message in the group from the president of JJMN, Nadine Blair, asking, can we do anything about the Bahamian situation, guys? I was talking to Kevin Heath and some other persons behind the scenes. What I did, I spent the rest of the night just detailing every step that the community could take to put on the event. And then I indicated to them that they don't have to take the idea, just think about it and show it out if it doesn't make sense. Everybody thought it was a good idea. And the truth is, under a week, we were able to follow those steps and execute the event.
The Bahamian Hurricane Relief Concert was held in partnership with Food for the Poor.
Food for the Poor came on board as a partner because we need to have legitimate persons involved in this situation. Well, George Nooks was the first artist to sign up. Kukudu was there, Rhoda Isabella, Joan Fleming, Rondell Positive, Nadine Blair and the Perpetual Praise, Mark Johnson and a host of other artists.
I am the image of God, Imago Te, Imago Te.
I'm a soldiers march out now, put on the war suit, launch out now nuclear, they have to go pass out now, tell them we not back down, everybody say
Bahamas! Oh, and the Bahamas.
Not Bahamas.
That one day. So people, we are here. We wanted to put some smile on some person's face in the bar. If you're watching me, just see the camera over there. Hi, Bahamas. You know, everything Pastor said, if you follow them, you know. For instance, Pastor said, if you want your success, sow into the church. Yeah. If you want the good job, sow into the church. You know, some me want a wife, he say, you sow into the church to get the wife. I do exactly what he said.
What is it?
I went down to the fabric store and I buy 10 yards of cloth, needle and thread and sew in the back of the church.
Thank you so much on behalf of all the Bahamian people for your support to our country.
And the storm got you drifting. But I'm here to tell you tonight, just hold on to Jesus and ride out your storm. Can I hear you?
Let go, let God control your mind. Take it on low, take it on low.
What a
Barclays says the concert was just the beginning.
As indicated before, this was impromptu, so at this point, we are working on establishing an account for the JJMN for this purpose. Just stay tuned. Once you're on Facebook, once you are on Instagram, you can't miss it.
You will overcome. Say the Bahamas will overcome. Me say overcome. Freeport gonna overcome. Abaco go overcome. Freeport go overcome. Abaco go overcome. Grand Bahama go overcome. Say we more than conquerors.
In regional news, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is calling for more international support to aid the recovery of hurricane-ravaged Bahamian islands. Guterres visited the islands last weekend. Hurricane Dorian struck the Grand Bahama and Abaco Islands as a Category 5 storm on September 1.
The financial cost of the damage caused by Dorian is not clear, but it will be in the billions of dollars, and the Bahamas cannot be expected to foot this bill alone. These new large-scale climate-related disasters demand a new multilateral response. Climate financing is one element. We must reach the target of $1 billion per year from public and private sources for mitigation and adaptation in the developing world, as rich countries have been promising for nearly a decade. And we must improve access to development financing. In cases like the Bahamas, I strongly support proposals to convert debt into investment in resilience. Concessional financing must be made available to indebted middle-income countries that are vulnerable to extreme weather events.
The UN boss also urged world leaders slated to attend the upcoming UN Climate Change Action Summit to show up with plans to combat this global phenomenon by cutting carbon emissions.
The best available science is, as reported by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, says we must ensure collectively that global temperature rise does not go beyond 1.5 degrees. And it says that we have a window of less than 11 years to avoid irreversible climate disruption, and that we must reduce emissions by 45% by 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. And this is why I'm asking all leaders to come to the climate summit with plans, not speeches, in New York in 1 week's time.
Following his tour of the devastated Abaco Islands, the Secretary General said he was horrified by the scale of the destruction, going further to say he has never seen anything like it.
It's impossible not to be horrified with the destruction in Abaco after Hurricane Dorian. I've never seen such a dramatic devastation anywhere else in the world. They say this is a Hurricane Category 5. I believe it is a Hurricane Category L. But it was not powered by the devil. It was powered by climate change. It was powered by human action. Nature is angry. We need to show nature that we respect it. We need to be able to change course and to adopt the policies, the measures that are necessary for climate action to prevail.
Officials in Bermuda said that schools, public transportation and government offices on the British Atlantic territory will be closed early today ahead of the likely arrival of Hurricane Humberto as a Category 2 storm. National Security Minister Wayne Keynes told reporters that schools, government offices and ferries on the island would close at noon Wednesday, and bus service would end at 4 p.m. Officials said that tropical storm force winds were expected to start hitting Bermuda with hurricane force gusts starting at about 3 p.m. Wednesday, lasting until about 4 a.m. Thursday. A small shift in track could bring the storm itself over the island.
As such, I encourage the public to revisit their personal and family preparedness programs to get ready for the storm. I must implore all Bermudians to take the storm seriously and to prepare their homes and their businesses and everything in their personal set of circumstances for the storm. Try preparation time from now until mid-morning tomorrow, After mid-morning tomorrow, it will be followed by thunderstorms, which will lead to the edge of Hurricane Humberto.
2 separate oil finds offshore Guyana were announced on Monday by Tulu Oil PLCs and ExxonMobil, which both stated that the finds of high-quality oil-bearing sandstone reservoirs bode well for the future of Guyana. The first was announced by Director of the Department of Energy, Dr. Mark Bino. We get more in this Newsroom Guyana report.
At the regional workshop on operational and environmental safeguards at the Marriott Hotel, the Director of the Department of Energy, Dr. Mark Bino, delivered opening remarks shortly after he announced back-to-back oil discoveries by Tullow and yet another one by ExxonMobil.
Even before this conference commenced, we were reminded about the prolific rate of oil discovery in the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, with 2 new finds. And thanks for the applause.
UK-owned Tullow Oil and US oil major ExxonMobil both announced their discoveries offshore Guyana on Monday morning. On the sidelines of the event, Dr. Bino said the government is appreciative of the rate of discovery. But like many others, his major concern will be how the average Guyanese benefits from this resource.
What it means for Guyana is that it does demonstrate that the country has substantial oil resources. For the average man, however, it's important to see how these resources will ultimately be translated into social and economic benefits that can transform his or her life. We within the department continue to look to elaborate frameworks which will allow for the efficient management of these resources, not only from an economic standpoint, but also from a socioeconomic as well as an environmental and safety standpoint.
ExxonMobil made an oil discovery at the Triple Tail 1 well on the Stabroek Block offshore Guyana. The well is located approximately 3 miles northeast of the Longtail discovery. It was drilled in 6,572 feet of water and encountered approximately 108 feet of a high-quality oil-bearing sandstone reservoir. With this new find, ExxonMobil is expected to continue to move forward exploration and development activities elsewhere on the Stabroek Block. The media caught up with ExxonMobil country manager Rod Henson, who commented on the find.
Yeah, very happy to announce a Triple Tail 1 discovery. This is more good news for Guyana. So we'll need to do some more evaluation work before we would update any resource numbers.
ExxonMobil had previously announced estimated recoverable resource of more than 6 billion oil equivalent barrels on the Stabroek Block. Meanwhile, UK-based Tullow Oil made its second discovery at the Joe 1 exploration well in the Oringduke Block offshore Guyana.
In sports, inclement weather interrupted yesterday's action in the Issa Digicel Manning Cup as a number of matches from the day's 15-game slate were called off on account of lightning in the area. In Group G, defending champions Kingston College were leading the Noon Technical 2-0 at Breezy Castle when lightning flashed around the venue 10 minutes into the second half. The referee immediately called the players off the field and subsequently postponed the match, which would be concluded at a later date decided by Issa. The Group C fixture between St. Catherine High and St. Andrew Technical High School was abandoned, with both teams goalless at halftime. On Monday, lightning flashes during the top-of-the-table Group E clash between Wolmer's Boys and Jamaica College at Stadium East Field led to players being rushed to the hospital. Team manager of the Jamaica College, Ian Forbes, provided an update on the players. He said that the 2 affected players were responding well. He said Nikash More was discharged after 6 p.m. Tuesday, while his teammate Terence Francis remained at the University Hospital of the West Indies. According to Forbes, the players who complained of pain and of being disoriented were tested thoroughly. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thanks so much for watching.